Next episode, Monday Meals with Mr. Blaze. Again, not much of a meal, more of a snack. We're going to be making hummus. Now, you can buy it in a store, of course. You could buy Sabra or, any of those brands. This stuff will blow it out of the water, trust me. You know what goes into this. You can see it made right in front of you. It's way cheaper, about less than half the cost of buying it in a store. And the fun of this, again, is it's like science. You can experiment and put in what you like and what you want to try. And if you like things spicy, squirt some sriracha in. If you don't like things spicy, maybe put in a little bit more tahini, and you could kind of change it. So I'll put the recipe in the description. You'll be able to see it. This is for the basic, just straight up hummus. And there's just a few simple ingredients that go in it. So the main thing in hummus is chickpeas. Some people call them garbanzo beans, but chickpeas, that's the main thing. I'm going to just use cayenne. It's about, 89 cents for a can of these. You could buy a bag of them dried. It's even cheaper, but then you need to soak them overnight. And one of the other main things is an ingredient called tahini. And essentially all this is just ground up sesame seeds. And so it's called sesame paste, but you need this, you need chickpeas, and then we're going to put some garlic, lemon juice, and salt. And again, with the garlic, you can see this. This is a pint jar of chopped garlic. So I bought a few garlic cloves, like bulbs of garlic, 2 of them I think is what I went in here, put them in a food processor, blended them up, and then you have fresh garlic all the time without having to worry about peeling it or chopping it. And then I just top it off with a little bit of olive oil and keep it in my fridge. It's way better than those little tiny jars of chopped garlic you get, because that doesn't even taste like garlic. It has all types of preservatives in it to make it last long. This stuff is just garlic. That's the only ingredient in it. And then, like I said, a little bit of olive oil on top. So I'm going to get everything prepped over here. I'll show you what it looks like. And then essentially we're going to put everything into the food processor, pulse it up, and it's ready to go. Really easy meal. Part of the prep requires the juice of 2 lemons. So you could just cut these open and squish them, but a quick little tip again, and maybe you've seen this before, put them on your cutting board, roll the lemons like this with your hand a little bit. Just once or twice. What it does is it breaks up some of the pulp inside the lemon, and then when you actually do squeeze it and open it, and I'm going to use a lemon squeezer like this, it opens up. You put the lemon inside and squish it, just a lever, simple lever. But when you roll the lemon a little bit first, you tend to get a little bit more juice out of it. And I love my hummus very lemony, so I want as much lemon juice in there as possible. And it's action time. So I drained off the liquid from the chickpeas because they come sitting in this liquid. It's almost like a syrupy kind of liquid. So I drained that off. Sometimes I get no salt added. Sometimes, depending on what they have. These are just normal chickpeas. So dump those in a food processor. And this is a simple recipe. You could double this, you could triple this, whatever the need be. And it calls for a teaspoon of salt. So I'm going to put in a teaspoon of salt. A tablespoon of chopped garlic. Now, if you're using actual garlic cloves and you're going to chop them up yourself, I would say that's probably about maybe 2 good-sized cloves. I'm going to use this chopped up stuff, so I'm just going to put in what looks like to be about a tablespoon of that. And you'll probably realize that when I'm in the kitchen, I don't like to measure things too often because I don't like to make a mess, because the bigger mess I have, the more dishes I need to do. I juiced those 2 lemons. It came out to be about a 1/4 cup, depending on, sometimes your lemons can be juicier, sometimes, they might be less juicy. If really, I would probably like to put a little bit more in there, but I'm just going to go with the juice of 2. And then it calls for a 1/3 of a cup of tahini. Now, when you get to the tahini, I would not recommend putting the tahini in a measuring cup. This stuff is super thicky, super sticky, and it's like peanut butter. So when you put it in a measuring cup, it's very hard to get out of it. So I usually just give it a little stir because it settles on the bottom sometimes, and then I just pour in what I think looks to be about a 1/3 of a cup. Close enough. I could, once I buzz this up, I'll then adjust it, see how it tastes, and go from there. You could always alternate and change up ingredients. One thing I thought of I'm going to put in is some smoked paprika. I like it kind of gives it, a little bit of a different flavor. So I'm going to put in a little dash of this, not even going to measure it because it comes out in such small amounts. And then I'm going to buzz this up. I'll probably let it run for about 45 seconds on high, scrape down the sides, and then I'm going to get to adding in the olive oil at the end. If I realize that it looks like it's a little bit too thick, sometimes I add some extra water. If I had more lemon juice, like I said, I'd put more lemon juice in, but in this case, I'll probably just add a little bit of water. So I'm going to buzz it up, and I'll show you what it looks like in a second. Now, that was running for 45 seconds or so. I actually ran it on low instead of high, just because there wasn't a lot in there. I didn't want it to splash around, but it looks kind of thick. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the lid back on, and I do this so that it doesn't make a mess. And then I'm going to drizzle the olive oil into this spout, and it calls for a 1/4 cup. So I let it running on low. I'm going to drizzle the olive oil in. If after that it still looks like it's kind of thick, then I'll probably add a little splash of water or two to kind of get it to the consistency I want. So again, I'm going to buzz it up, maybe for another minute or so, drizzle in the 1/4 cup of olive oil, check the consistency. If I think it needs a little bit more, I'm going to add a little bit more. There it is. Hummus. Could it get any easier? So the consistency of it, you can get an idea here. I'll dip this. This is a spoon I was using for the garlic. I'll dip this in here and you can see what it looks like. It's not super thick. It will definitely coat the back of the spoon. But I don't like my hummus super, dense. I kind of like it a little bit on the liquidy side. And it's got this amazing aroma of lemon. And you can definitely smell the garlic. The longer this stuff sits, I usually, I'll make it taste it now just for salt. But the longer this stuff sits, the better it's going to get, because the garlic and lemon juice gets in kind of infused through all the beans. But it definitely has a good flavor to it now. I might add a pinch of salt, and I might put in a squirt of sriracha just because I love things spicy. Other than that, that's it. Put it in your fridge. It will last at least a week, maybe 2 weeks. It's great on pretzels. It's great on carrots. It's an excellent source of fiber, good source of protein because they're beans, and it's healthy. No preservatives in here, unless there was some in the can of beans. But if you use dried beans, then it's completely, fresh, natural food. Lemon juice, tahini, olive oil, garlic, salt, that's it. If you think you have a better recipe, and I hope you do, because I'm always looking to learn and try something new. If you think you have a better recipe, by all means, send it along. I want to try some different recipes. Sometimes I do this with black beans, and I put in a chopped jalapeno, and then instead of lemon juice, I actually put lime juice in, just because it has a little bit of a different citrus flavor. That's the fun of cooking. Try something. If you don't like it, try something else. I'd love to hear from you. If you give it a shot and you think it's tasty or you have ideas for recommendations, pass them along. I'd love to hear it.